A student sits in a quiet lab at MIT. There is a cap on their head, wired with electrodes, reading the faint electricity of their brain. In front of them, a blank essay. Beside them, ChatGPT. On a screen behind them, their own brain activity glows in real time. And as the AI begins to write, something happens to that glow. It dims. The bright, crackling web of connection goes quiet. This is not a thought experiment. It happened in 2025, and they kept the brain scans. Here is what almost everyone gets wrong about AI. You worry it will give you a wrong answer. You double-check the facts. You watch for the hallucination. But the real danger was never the answer. The danger is what your brain does while the machine is thinking. Because every time you hand off the work, your brain makes a quiet decision. It decides this is no longer mine to hold. And it lets go. This is not about laziness. It is about what your brain quietly chooses to keep. So the question is not whether AI is smart. The question is what is left of you when it does the thinking for you. Start with that scan. In 2025, a researcher named Natalia Kuzmina at the MIT Media Lab ran a deceptively simple experiment. She took 54 students and split them into 3 groups. One group wrote essays using ChatGPT, one used a search engine, and one wrote with nothing at all, just their own mind. The whole time, she watched their brains with EEG, a cap that reads electrical activity across the skull. The students' writing alone lit up the brightest, dense, distributed networks firing across the entire brain. The search engine group less, and the ChatGPT group showed the weakest connection of all. Their brains were the quietest in the room. Then she did something clever. She took the AI users and made them write alone, and their brains stayed dim, underengaged, as if they had forgotten how to fire. But here is the part that should stop you. When asked to quote the essay they had just produced, the AI group couldn't do it. They had no memory of their own words. They had written it, but it never once felt like theirs, because their brains never really wrote it. Kuzmina gave the effect a name. She called it cognitive debt. But this did not start with AI. Rewind to 2011. A psychologist named Betsy Sparrow at Columbia University noticed something strange about memory. She found that when you believe you can look something up later, you simply don't remember it. You remember where to find it instead. And there was something stranger still. The moment you hit a hard question, your mind now reaches for a computer first before it even tries to think for itself. She ran the experiment 4 times, the same result every time. People forgot the fact, but they remembered the folder. She called it the Google effect. And it revealed something quietly unsettling about you. Your brain had already outsourced its memory to a machine. The internet had become what scientists call transactive memory, a second brain you carry everywhere but do not actually own. You kept the where, you gave away the what. AI is that same trade, but now you are not handing over facts, you are handing over the thinking itself. And your brain keeps a physical record of every trade you make. Look at London. In the year 2000, a neuroscientist named Eleanor Maguire scanned the brains of London taxi drivers. These drivers spend years memorizing 25,000 streets. They call it the knowledge. And Maguire found that the back of their hippocampus, the brain's center for memory and navigation, had physically grown larger. The longer they had driven, the bigger it was. Use that part of the brain and it builds itself. Now watch what happens when you stop. In 2017, a team at University College London put people inside a driving simulation while scanning their brains. When they navigated by themselves, the hippocampus fired with every single turn. When they followed GPS, it went silent. The brain had switched off its interest in the world around it. And in 2020, researchers at McGill University tracked habitual GPS users for 3 years. The more they leaned on it, the more their spatial memory decayed. And it was not because they were already bad at directions. The GPS was making them worse. It is the same brain, the same region in every one of them. The only thing that changes is whether you use it or let a machine do the work. So this is the verdict. Outsource a mental function and your brain quietly lets it wither. But here is where it turns, because this fear is not new at all. It is ancient. 2,400 years ago, Socrates said almost the exact same thing. In Plato's dialogue, the Phaedrus, Socrates tells a story about the invention of writing. In it, a god named Theuth presents written letters to a king, calling them a cure for forgetting. But the king refuses the gift. He warns that writing will ruin human memory, that people will trust the marks on the page and stop remembering for themselves. And he was right, partly. We did stop memorizing whole epics. We did lean on the page, but we did not get stupider. We got freer. We used the space we saved to think bigger thoughts than before. So the offloading itself was never the real danger. Look closer at that MIT study. The students who struggled alone first and only then used AI performed the best of anyone. The sequence was everything. You are not losing your mind, you are choosing which muscles to keep. And the danger is only this: when you skip the struggle, because the struggle is where the thinking gets burned in. The email the AI wrote for you, the one you couldn't paraphrase an hour later. The article you asked it to summarize that left nothing at all behind. The moment your hand reaches for your phone before your own memory even tries. The decision you let it make for you that you can no longer explain, not even to yourself. These are not small things. This is cognitive debt paid in tiny installments you never feel, one offloaded thought at a time, and the interest compounds in silence. Until one day you reach for an idea that used to be yours, and you find only the empty place where it used to live. So go back to that lab, that student, that dimming glow on the screen. That was never a warning about a machine. It was a mirror. Your brain does not hold what it trusts something else to hold. It never did. That is the most efficient thing about you, and the most dangerous. Because the more you let it think for you, the less of it does the thinking, and that leaves one last question, the one the scans cannot answer. When the machine finally thinks for you, who is the you that is left to notice?